In this video, I'm going to show you how to heal your gut and restore your health with the lectin-free food plan. Hello and welcome to Total Health with Dr. Nick, where my purpose is to inspire, empower, and motivate you to live longer, healthier, and more abundant lives. And this video is all about the lectin-free food plan and how by getting lectins out of your diet, you can heal your gut and restore your health, even though you might not think it's possible, that you're destined to have poor health, that you're supposed to be sick and suffering all the time. Well, guys, watch to the end because I'm going to show you exactly how to do this meal plan. And if you like what we're talking about, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you click that little bell notification so you get notified anytime I do a video. And if you're looking for more information about the ketogenic diet and want to get in the shape of your life, make sure you look down below in the description where you're going to see my link for my keto plan called Ultimate Keto with Dr. Nick. And also, too, if you're looking for a really good cookbook, check out my cookbook, KISS. Keto is super simple, where the recipes are delicious, simple, and easy to make. Not only that, a lot of you are reaching out asking me how you can get in touch with me and how you can work with me and how I can coach you along and give you more and more one-on-one training. Well, anyway, guys, you can do that also down below. You can get in touch with my office. My email is down over there too. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the lectin-free food plan and how it can restore your health and your gut. Well, guys, first off, I need to give credit where credit is due. I did not come up with this food plan. It is by Dr. Stephen Gundry, MD, and I want to make sure I give him credit because it's really fabulous. He's done a lot of work on this, and I want to make sure he gets full credit for it. But first thing I want to talk about is phase one. Okay, there's going to be 3 phases to this, and by the way, if you haven't seen my previous videos, make sure you go back and watch those. The first one was really all about leaky gut and how to heal it. The second one was all about lectins and just how damaging and destructive these problems are in your health. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, they come from plants, they have to be healthy. Well, I'll tell you what, they're not, okay? Make sure you watch that video because I'm going to talk about all the destructive damage that it does in your body, and a lot of the symptoms that you have, it's not your fault. It's coming from the foods that you're eating that you've been told are healthy, like your healthy whole grains and so on. So watch that, make sure you look at that one completely to the end. But this one's really all about now how putting it all together. How do we start to set up the meal plans? How do we start to go through the different phases? Well, phase one is really all about healing your gut. And phase one is a 3-day cleanse, all right? So we're starting off with a cleanse because we got to heal your gut. So that way we set up the terrain, set up the environment to start to create new healthy bugs and get rid of the bad ones, okay? So number one is how to heal your gut. Time to root out the bad bugs and replace them with the good bugs. So what do we start off with? Number one, you have to stay away from the foods that I have on the no list. Now, we're going to be showing you that, so don't worry. As we go through this video, I'm going to show you the foods to eat and the foods not to eat. You want to stay away from the foods on the no list, and you'll know it's the no list because it's got a red line at the very bottom. So anywhere you are in the food guide, you'll know if you're in the foods that are good for you because it'll be green, and you'll know if you're in the foods that are bad for you because it'll be red, okay? So, dairy, grains, pseudo grains. Now, what I mean by pseudo grains? Pseudo grains are things like quinoa. Quinoa, you think it's a grain, you think it's healthy, it's got more protein than regular grains, so it's got to be healthy for me, Dr. Nick. Well, it's really not. It's actually a seed, so it is classified as a pseudo grain. Fruit, sugar, and I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, but fruit's good for me. It's bright, it's colorful, God created it. Fruit's really not that good for you. Fruit is designed to put weight on, okay? So as soon as you start eating a lot of fructose, high fructose corn syrup, see what they make it out of? When you're eating a lot of fructose, it starts to cause a fatty liver, it starts to cause a lot of weight gain to be put on, and your body goes into storage mode. So you want to stay away from a lot of the fruits. Seeds, eggs. Yes, eggs early on, we're going to avoid that at first, but then we're going to get right back into it, okay? But at first, I want you to avoid things like dairy and eggs. I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, that's on a ketogenic diet. I know it is, but in the beginning, we just want to clean out your gut a little bit, so avoid the eggs. Nightshades. Now, what are nightshades? Nightshades are things like tomatoes. And I know you're thinking, tomatoes are so good for me. I love tomatoes. Tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, things like that. In other words, things that have a skin and things that have seeds. Those are called nightshades. Roots, tubers, corn, soy, canola, oil, and beef. Okay, so those are the things in first you want to avoid. Now, we'll start to add some of them back in later. But in the beginning stages, Dr. Gundry recommends avoiding those at first. Now, what can you have? Vegetables, lots of them. In fact, you can have as much as you want. So you can have all the leafy green ones that you want, fresh, frozen, grown locally. Those are big, important things. Try to get it as local as possible, okay? Because you want to have things grown right in your area. It's going to be much, much healthier for you. Now, you see I have over here raw or cooked. Now, cooked is important if you suffer from things like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, colitis, things like that. You want to definitely be able to cook it to make it easier for your body to digest, especially the cruciferous vegetables, which are collard greens, your bok choy, things like your cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower. Those are all your cruciferous vegetables. Very good for you, but at the same time, cook them so that way your body can handle them better. Protein, let's keep it low at first. Let's keep it to about 8 ounces a day. So 2 4-ounce servings, and really keep it at that, not too much. You can have fish. Shellfish is preferred. Notice no beef here, right? Beef is avoiding it for now. We'll add it back in later, but for now, we're keeping beef out, and we're using pastured chicken, not cage-free. Cage-free really doesn't mean that they're out roaming the field eating grass and grubs and worms and things like that. No, they are in a chicken coop, and in the chicken coop, they've got a door open where they've got a small little plot of grass, and that's about it. They're all crammed in there. There's no way that they're getting out the door to get on some grass for 5 minutes a day, okay? So that is cage-free. What you want is pastured. It's going to be a whole lot better. Now, fats that you can have and oils, avocados, of course, extra virgin olive oil, macadamia nut oil, walnut oil, and MCT oil are all going to be good oils to have at this time. You want to avoid saturated fats for now. Snacks, you want guacamole. Of course, anytime you can have avocado, it's great. So whether you have it in guacamole or you have half a Hass avocados, fantastic. And once again, you can have some nuts. Nuts are good, but if you're having issues with irritable bowel again, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, things like that, you want to make sure that you're not having nuts and seeds because they will cause a flare-up. Condiments, seasonings, salt and pepper, of course, is always good. Lemon juice, vinegar, mustard. You want to avoid pre-made dressings. Okay, so just make your own dressing. It's very simple. Olive oil, apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar, salt and pepper. That's it. It's really all you need. Beverages, filtered water, sparkling and mineral water, green tea, black tea. Make sure that you're not putting, of course, dairy with it because we said to avoid dairy at first right over here. Sweetened with stevia. So you want to just use stevia. Don't use any other kind of sugars right now. So let's keep this simple during the cleansing phase. Number 2 part of the cleansing phase is you want to clean the gut with herbal laxatives called Swiss Chris. You can easily find it online. It's going to help you be able to really have better normal bowel movements. So start to look for that. Swiss Chris, you can go right on Amazon and you can find it right on there. Taken with water the night before you start your cleanse, okay? Number 3, supplements that kill bad gut bacteria, especially if you suffer with irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, or autoimmune conditions. You want to use these right here. Oregon grapefruit extract, grapeseed extract, cinnamon, clove, and wormwood. Okay, use them all as directed, so look right on the little jar there, and you'll see exactly how to take these. But these will help to start to kill off those bad gut bacteria, so that way we can replace them and build them up with the healthy gut bacteria. That's really what this is all about. We have to get your gut healthy because if your gut isn't healthy, nothing's going to be healthy. Health really starts a lot with your gut. So if you don't fix that, you're not going to have a healthy body. You're not going to be able to absorb nutrients. And guess what? Here's something that you were probably never told before. The reason you're craving certain things, and a lot of them may be sugars and pies and pastries and cakes and things like that, is because the gut bacteria that you have in your body is the wrong type. Okay, there's one called Firmicutes, and Firmicutes loves that type of environment where it's highly acidic, where you've got a lot of different pies and pastries and cakes and crackers and cookies and things like that. You want more Bacteroidetes. Bacteroidetes is the healthy one. It helps you burn fat. So that's the one you want. And you get that when you eat lots of leafy greens and the things we're going to be talking about. Now, phase 2. Phase 2 is repair and restore. Okay, we're repairing the gut lining because many of you have leaky gut, and the reason you have leaky gut is because the lectins, when it gets close to the tight junctures, and once again, I talked about this in the previous videos, it gets in those tight junctures and starts to open them up, and when it opens it up, it now can get bacteria poop, all kinds of candida, viruses, funguses, and molds into your bloodstream, and once it's into your bloodstream, it is all over your body. So this will help to repair and restore, okay? So we want to remove unhealthy foods and repair your leaky gut in this phase, phase 2. What do we do here? Start to consume in abundance. Like I said earlier, foods from the green foods list. So all the ones in the green foods list, all the vegetables, all the different greens, all the tubers. You can start adding those in now. Foods that contain resistant starch. You want to start to feed your friendly gut bacteria. And how do you do that? You do that with resistant starches. And what are resistant starches? We're going to show you those in a little while, but they're things like turnips and parsnips, things like sweet potatoes. I know a lot of you are going, finally, I can eat some sweet potatoes. Those are resistant starches, meaning they go through your body and really don't get broken down that much. In fact, they finally get broken down by the bacteria in your intestines, okay? So your friendly gut bacteria, that is food for them. So it is technically a prebiotic, not a probiotic, but a prebiotic. It is food for them. It will help to make healthy gut bacteria, not the bad ones. Consume a lot of omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats are very anti-inflammatory, where omega-6 fats are very inflammatory, so you want to avoid those. So the omega-3 fats are found in fish oil, perilla oil. That's an oil that people in Asian cultures use a lot. Very, very popular with them. Very healthy oil. Flaxseed oil, avocado, walnut oil, macadamia nut oil, and MCT oil. So all these oils we did talk about previously, these are all fair game, and these are ones you want to include in the phase 2 of this diet. Snacks, once again, you can have nuts unless you have issues with irritable bowel or Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. You can have guacamole, half an avocado. You want to maximize resistant starches, again, the ones I was talking about earlier, to feed the good bacteria. And initially, no fruit. We want to keep fruit out for now. Keep the sugars down. We don't want to be feeding gut bacteria that want sugars. Okay, so no fruit. Later, we're going to introduce them back into your diet, and we're going to talk about how we do that when they're in season. You want to stick to seasonal fruits, because the ones that are picked, out of season, picked some foreign country, they're gassed, they're sprayed, and that way they change color by the time they get here. So you want to avoid those, and you want to eat fruit that is in season, once again, in your area. Now, consume no more than 8 ounces of animal protein a day. So once again, we want to stick to, at most, 8 ounces of animal protein a day, 2 4-ounce servings. Primarily is wild-caught fish and shellfish, which are high in omega-3 fatty acids, as well as eggs now. So we're adding eggs back in. Eggs from pastured chickens, okay, so ones that are actually walking around in the grass, or ones that are fed omega-3 fats, okay? Not only 4 ounces of your protein should come from meats, all right? So we only want 4 ounces of the 8 ounces coming from meat. If you can do it all from fish, shellfish, sardines, mackerel, things like that, and those are so easy to get. You can find those canned anywhere. Do that, but only 4 ounces of it can be coming at this point through meat or beef, okay? Preferably grass-fed, grass-finished. Consume dairy products. Now we're adding dairy in. Okay, remember we took it out in that first phase. So now we're adding dairy in, but it needs to be from casein A2 cows. Now what does that mean? Most of you never realized it was casein A2 cows. You didn't realize it was casein A1 cows. Well, go back and watch my previous videos because I talked about that in depth. But basically, there was a genetic mutation that happened in casein A2 cows, and they became casein A1 cows. Now, casein A1 cows were hardier, and they produced more milk, so farmers tended to use those a lot, but they're not good for us. We don't know how to digest that type of milk. Instead, many countries in Europe and all over the world still use casein A2. So see if you can find it in your grocery store. Whole Foods will probably have it, and some of the higher-end grocery stores will have casein A2 milk. Use that one, and also to sheep, goats, and water buffalo, if you can find water buffalo. But anyway, you can find a lot of times sheep and goat's milk. Those are easier to find. Eliminate vegetables with the nightshade family. Once again, we talked about the nightshade family is your tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. Now, what do I do? Because I still like to eat those. You can cook them, one thing you could do, or you want to make sure you peel them and seed them. So it's very easy. Just drop a tomato in some hot water, boiling water, of course, and then about a minute later, take it out. It peels real easily. Cut it in half, squeeze out the seeds, and now you have perfectly fine tomatoes, so you can use that. Same thing, you want to peel the cucumbers, de-seed them, and use them that way, and you're just fine. Now, still in phase 2, for 6 weeks, Eliminate lectin foods in the red food list. And like I said, in a little while, we're going to show you that red food list and you'll see exactly what foods to avoid. But you want to avoid the grains, whole grains, legumes, corn, soybeans, GMO foods, crops treated with Roundup. Yes, they're all treated with Roundup, especially in the United States. Why? Because Roundup kills everything. So it's much, much easier to kill plants that are what we call Roundup ready, which means that the Roundup is already within the seed. Okay, and Roundup is a very, very dangerous poison that we use here in the States, which is banned from most countries, to actually kill all the weeds. And it leaves the good plants because they've already been treated with Roundup. Like I said, it's already in their seeds. Limit long-chain saturated fats, right? So we want to avoid the longer-chain saturated fats, different than the MCTs, which are medium-chain triglycerides. These are the ones over 12 carbons long. So coconut oil, animal fats, fats and cheeses, sour cream, cream cheese, and heavy cream. These all have the longer chain fatty acids, so you want to avoid those for now. Eliminate all sugars and artificial sweeteners. Well, that should go without saying. Of course, you want to eliminate or keep sugars down, and artificial sweeteners should never, ever be in your diet, whether it be pink, yellow, or blue. You know what I'm talking about. Stop using them. They should never be in your diet. Eliminate industrial farm-raised poultry, and what I mean by that is the ones from where they're all crammed in the chicken coops, not the ones that are pastured where they're walking around, including free-range poultry and livestock along with their dairy products, okay? So you won't want to use the commercially raised dairy. You don't want to use commercially raised poultry. Use it if you can, okay? Once again, if you can do this. If you can't, just getting away from what you've typically been eating in a standard American diet is going to help. But if you can get to where you're having pastured eggs, pastured chicken, the meats you're eating are grass-fed and grass-finished, you're going to be a whole lot better off. Because remember, you're eating what they're eating. And a lot of people will have trouble with this because they'll say, I'm eating chicken and I'm still having trouble. I don't get it. Chicken's on the good list. I get that. But the problem is you're eating what they're eating. So if they're eating grain and soy and corn, that's what you're going to be eating because you're eating what they're eating. The same thing when it comes to different fish. Farm-raised fish, you don't want to have that. They're given antibiotics, they're given colored tablets, they're given soy, they're given GMO corn. And so you want to avoid foods like that. Farm-raised fish, once again, I was just talking about, fed with antibiotics, corn and beans full of omega-6 fats and Roundup. And like I said, omega-6 fats are very, very inflammatory fats, so you want to avoid those. Now, like I said, part 1 or phase 1 is 3 days long. You're going to start to kill off the bad gut bacteria because you're going to starve them and you're going to start to make healthy, good bacteria. Phase 2 is 6 weeks long. Now, if you find that you're not quite there yet, continue in it. You don't have to go into phase 3. Phase 3 is optional anyway. You can stay in phase 2 for the rest of your life. You don't ever have to come out of phase 2 if you don't want to. But if you do, here's where we're going to start to reintroduce some things if you see, and only if you see, that you're doing well with phase 2, where your symptomatology is going away. Maybe your migraines, maybe your eczema, maybe your irritable bowel or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis is clearing up. Okay, different skin conditions, your brain fog, your energy's coming back. When all this stuff is coming back, now you can start to transition into phase 3. Otherwise, stay in phase 2, okay? Now, phase 3 is optional and it is a maintenance phase. So here, we're going to reduce intake of animal products to 2 to 4 ounces per day. So we want to keep, and this is something that goes against what I've always believed. Some of you who tend to bodybuild or exercise, you might need more protein. The rest can actually keep it pretty limited. So if you're not a bodybuilder and you're not worried about building a lot of muscle mass, you could actually keep your protein levels down because you add longevity. The countries that have the longest longevity, these are your blue zones, okay? So look up your blue zones. You'll see that they have the longest longevity and they eat the fewest amounts of protein, especially red meat. They eat a lot more fish, omega-3 fish specifically, but they eat a lot of vegetables too. So keeping proteins down to 2 to 4 ounces per day. Introduce lectin foods one at a time and see how you do. So what does that mean? Well, some of the lectin foods that we're going to be showing you are things like beans and different grains. You're going to start to add those in one at a time and see how you do. If you add it in and you don't get a breakout with your skin, or you don't bloat, you don't get brain fog, you don't get a migraine headache, okay, maybe your body's okay to utilize it now, because here's the truth. Your body's gut bacteria will determine what you're able to handle. You may find that all of a sudden you can eat nuts again, you can eat seeds again, you can eat things that you haven't eaten in years because your gut bacteria is saying, hey, we're fine with that. Because now you have the healthy gut bacteria. The bad gut bacteria rebelled against it. It had problems with it and you weren't able to eat it. But you may be able to start eating certain foods again, but once again, try them one at a time and give it about a week. And then try another food and give it about a week and see how you do with it. Also too, introduce intermittent fasting. Now, I've done a lot of videos on this, so for those of you who are not familiar with intermittent fasting, just simply means that you're only eating in a certain eating window of the day. It doesn't mean you're restricting calories too much. It doesn't mean that you're not eating at all. It just means that certain times of the day, and you pick what's best for you because your schedule, your job may indicate when you should be eating and when you can't. But for most people, they stop eating around 8 o'clock at night and they don't eat until about noon the next day. Now, I spoke to a guy the other day who did it differently. He stopped eating around 5:30 in the afternoon, and then he would have breakfast the next day. Well, that's okay because it's still about 16 hours that he was giving himself between meals there. Some people might do 1 meal a day, some people do 2. Intermittent fasting looks different for different people. Some people might do, 2 days on of a fast and then 3 days off. Some people might do a 24-hour fast once a week, but that's intermittent fasting. Some people might do a 2 or 3 day fast once a month. You do what's best for you. I like to fast pretty much every day where I don't eat from about 8 o'clock at night to about noon the next day. And that's just the way it works for me, and that works really, really well. But you do what works best for you. Now, what I want to get into is the food list, okay? You've all been sitting there going, Dr. Nick, get to the food list. Well, here it is. Notice, like I said, the green line. The green line lets you know that you're in the good food list, okay? The green is the good food list. But here's all the vegetables. Now, this is a partial list. I've got even a more of a full list. But you can see Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, bok choy, asparagus, radicchio, celery, onions, leeks, beets, radishes, spinach, all the stuff that you know is good for you. These are all the best foods to eat. Now, what I do is I pick the ones that had the highest, what we call ANDI score, which means aggregate nutrient density index, which is how nutrient dense a food is. And I picked all the best ones that didn't have the lectins in it, that lined up with the keto diet, but also lined up with the Mediterranean diet, and when all these planets lined up, this is the best food list, okay? So then we get into resistant starches. We talked about these earlier. For some of you, it's new, but resistant starches are simply foods that are more of a starch, but it goes through your system fairly undigested. But when it gets to the area of your intestines where your bacteria want it, that's where it goes to work and they're able to eat it. But things like sweet potatoes, yams, rutabagas, parsnips, jicama, turnips, those are all resistant starches. Fats, you have beef tallow, you have avocado oil, you have coconut oil, butter, and ghee is fantastic. For those of you who are not so familiar with ghee, ghee is basically clarified butter. It's a lot healthier for you. The casein, the proteins, the solids have been removed. So some of you who have issues with different lactose and problems with that can do very fine with ghee, okay? So try that out. If you go to a seafood restaurant and typically you're dipping crab meat or something in that butter that looks more clear, that's clarified butter, but ghee is one step beyond that. It's got a higher smoking point, and it's really, really great for you. Extra virgin olive oil, of course, I did a video on that too. It's probably the best oil overall because it really helps with genetic expression. It helps you upregulate the good genes and really downregulate the bad genes. So olive oil is always great. Olives of any kind, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, MCT oil, things like that. Poultry, once again, pastured, not cage-free, pastured. 4 ounces or so a day. Things like chicken, turkey, pastured eggs, up to about 4 a day. Once again, you don't eat as much protein as you think you need. If you watch that show Naked and Afraid, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's funny because these people are out there eating crickets, eating ants, and somehow they're surviving out there, but they can do it. So we tend to eat way too much protein, and if you want more longevity, the research is saying reduce your protein a bit. Meats, grass-fed, grass-finished, about 4 ounces a day. Remember, 8 ounces or so total, so you could have about 4 ounces of it as red meat. Beef, venison, bison, lamb, pork, prosciutto, cured beef, cured pork. So prosciutto has basically been cured because they'll put salt all over the pork, and that's always good to eat too. Being Italian, I know all about prosciutto. Fish. Sardines, canned tuna, salmon, of course, Alaskan salmon. You don't want farm-raised salmon because, once again, they're given all kinds of, food like soybeans and corn, things like that. You don't want GMO ingredients in your salmon. You don't want some kind of Franken food. Not to mention they give it coloring just to get it the orangey color. Codfish is always good. Snapper, trout, mackerel, and Alaskan halibut. Now you have your mollusks, your shellfish, shrimp, crabs, lobster, mussels, oyster, crayfish, clams, squid, things like that. Getting into dairy, once again, your casein 2. Now remember, the green line means this is the good dairy to have. Casein A2, milk, Reggiano Parmigiano, mozzarella, from Italy, preferred, butter, Italian or French. Why? Because they use casein A2 cows over there. Ricotta, pecorino romano, feta, brie, goat cheese, and Greek yogurt, of course. And some of you may notice this. You go to Europe and you try certain foods over there and you're thinking, I do great over here. I don't get it. I can eat the yogurt. I can eat the dairy. My daughter experienced that. She's over there eating the pasta. Not a problem. She comes back to the States. All of a sudden, she's bloating and getting stomach pains and headaches and so on. All because we use different flour over here than they do in Italy. We have different dairy than they do in Italy. So you'll do much better in Europe than you do over here. So nuts and seeds, hazelnuts, almonds, pecans, flax seeds, macadamia nuts, pistachios, all these are good. Coconut, walnuts, all great nuts. Flours you can use: coconut, almond, hazelnut, sweet potato, tiger nut, and arrowroot. All fair game. You want to use these kinds of flours. Fruit: raspberries, blueberries, all your berries are going to be good. All your colorful berries. Strawberries, apples, if they're green, lemon and limes are always good. Okay? And crispy pears are good too. Sweeteners, stevia is always fair game. Stevia is always good. Sweet leaf stevia, especially inulin, is good. Monk fruit, erythritol, swerve, and xylitol are all good. Some of these may give you a little bit of a stomach ache because they are affecting your gut bacteria, so you may get a little bit of rumbling down there, but that's okay. If you can handle it, fine, no worries. Alcohol, I know you're wondering when I was going to get to alcohol. Red wine, spirits, about 6 ounces a day, and about 1 ounce a day works, okay? Anything more than that, you're going to slow down your fat burning because, remember, your liver has to triage this. When you take in alcohol, your liver says, oh, now we've got something we need to take care of. We have to take care of that right away, so your liver stops burning fat, and it goes right to detoxing the alcohol out of your system. Now, for the no foods list. These are the no foods, the ones you don't want to touch at all. So here you have all the goodies, all the stuff that you love to eat. And I know, don't you hide there. I see you there. These are all the ones that you love to eat, but you shouldn't be having. Pasta, rice, potatoes, potato chips, crackers, donuts, muffins, things like this, tortillas, bread, pastries, flour, cookies, cereal, agave nectar. That stuff you got to watch. People sell it like as if it's supposed to be so good for you. It's really not. It's very, very sweet, and it really spikes your blood sugar. Splenda, NutraSweet, diet drinks, maltodextrin, all on the no list, okay? And once again, how do we know it's on the no list? The red line right here. The red line shows you anywhere you are in this food list, whether it's a good food or a bad food, you know right away. Beans. Now, I know people thinking, but beans, Dr. Nick, beans are so good for me. I love beans. My doctor says they're high in protein. No, beans are actually higher in carbs than they are protein, okay? But not only that, they are loaded. They are probably the biggest offenders of lectins out of all the foods. Now, once again, go back and watch the previous videos I did, but what are lectins? Lectins are plant chemicals, plant proteins that the plant uses to defend itself. So it makes us feel bad. It gives us a stomach ache. It gives us a headache. If we eat it, we know it right away. Now, our ancestors knew that. They knew either they had to cook it differently or they had to process it differently. Some things like quinoa had to be cooked, basically 3 different ways. It had to be, first it was soaked, then it was fermented, so basically it rot, and then it was cooked. 3-step process. We don't do that here in the States. We just cook it, and that's it. And that's why we have trouble with it. But, these are things you want to avoid. These beans and these grains and these pseudo grains are things we have to avoid because they're loaded with lectins. And like I said, beans are the biggest offenders. Different peas, legumes, green beans, chickpeas. I know you're thinking, but hummus, I love hummus. Soy, now some of you may not have problems with this, I get that, but a lot of you do and you didn't realize was coming from the very foods that you were told to eat. Pea protein, beans, lentils. I grew up eating lentil soup. Vegans and vegetarians can have legumes in phase 2, but only if they are properly prepared in a pressure cooker. Now that's a big step. Beans do best when they're cooked in a pressure cooker, okay? Because you actually can kill or at least deactivate a lot of the lectins if they're put into a pressure cooker. Nuts and seeds, pumpkins, sunflower, chia, peanuts, and cashews. Peanuts and cashews are probably the biggest offenders because you're thinking, we eat peanuts all the time. Peanuts, peanut butter is not good for you. First of all, it is not a nut. It is a legume. It is grown underground. Okay, it's got a porous shell. That means water can get in and it gets moldy. That's probably one of the biggest problems with peanuts. Cashews aren't a nut either. Okay, now cashews, the people that harvest the cashews actually have to wear gloves because they can cause skin irritation. Why? Because they are part of the poison ivy family. So you want to avoid cashews, and that kills me too because I love cashews. They're so buttery. I make a great dip out of them, and they are just fantastic, but they are not good for you. Now, can you introduce them in later on? Yeah, you could probably introduce them again and see how you do. But for now, you want to stay away from them. Vegetables and fruits. Now, I know I've got a little bit of a dichotomy going on right here because these fruits, are they vegetables? Are they fruits? Well, they're fruits. If they're pulpy and they cover a bunch of seeds, they're a fruit. So if it's got a seed inside, other than an avocado, it is a fruit. So tomatoes are fruits, eggplants are fruits, things like that. Peppers are a fruit. So cucumbers, zucchini, pumpkins, squashes of any kind. Eggplant, tomatoes, bell peppers. These are all things that we should be avoiding unless you peel it and de-seed it. The Italians do this because whenever you go to an Italian restaurant and you have peppers, they're always peeled and de-seeded. You get roasted peppers, they are cooked over the flame, they're put in a paper bag, the skin is taken off, they're de-seeded, and then they put them in vinegar. Same thing with tomatoes. You're always peeling and seeding tomatoes before you eat them because the Italians knew not to have the skin and not to have the seeds. They're not good because they're loaded with lectins and they will make you feel bad. Dairy, of course, like I said earlier, casein 1 cows. You want to avoid those. Yogurt, Greek yogurt from casein 1 cows. You want to avoid any of the cheeses, ricotta, cottage cheese, sour cream, anything from casein 1 cows, okay? So try that out. See if you start to feel better off of that. You may notice, oh my gosh, Dr. Nick, right away, I felt so much better when I didn't use that type of dairy. Grains, once again, we talked about these earlier. Your wheat, einkorn wheat, kamut, oats, quinoa, rye, bulgur wheat, barley, brown rice. I know you're thinking, but brown rice, isn't that supposed to be good? I thought brown rice was best. I thought whole wheat was best. No, our ancestors knew to use the white part. If you want to add rice into your diet, make sure it is basmati rice from India, not regular basmati rice, and certainly not brown rice. All the lectins are in the husk. They're in the brown part, the part that we take off. That's where the lectins are. Corn, and corn should be out of your diet anyway, just simply because it's so much GMO. 90% of it is all GMO. Popcorn, wheatgrass, barley grass, all on the no list. And finally, different oils. Now, so many of these oils are omega-6 oils, which you should be avoiding. If they're seed oils, your canola oils, your safflower, your sunflower oil, these are all oils you should be avoiding because they are so inflammatory because of omega-6. But soy, grapeseed, corn, I know, grapeseed's supposed to be good. I thought it was good years ago. Now I know it's not. They're highly processed. There's chemicals and high heat to use to extract the oils out of different seeds and nuts. Corn, peanut, cottonseed oil. By the way, cottonseed oil is vegetable oil, right? That's where they get it from. This is an oil that was junk back in the 50s and 60s. It was junk. Nobody would eat it. It smelled. It was a bad color. So they figured out, hey, if we bleach it, and we take the smell out of it, we can sell it as vegetable oil. Yeah, vegetables are so healthy for us. We can make it vegetable oil. And people bought it up like crazy, and now we're sick because of it. Safflower, sunflower, vegetable, canola. Canola is another. It was an industrial oil. This is an oil that nobody wanted to use. They had to dress it up and change the name of it. So basically, it's from Canada, and it's an oil. That's where canola comes from. But it's a very bad oil, so you want to avoid these. So guys, I know this video ran a little bit long, but I hope it was a lot of great information for you to help you to heal your gut and restore your health by starting to implement the different phases that I told you. First thing, you want to clean your gut out. Clean it out, kill out the bad bacteria. Then you want to repair and restore it, and then you want to do maintenance on it. Like I said, part 3, it's optional. You don't have to do it. You don't have to reinstate anything if you don't want to. You may say, you know what, I'm going to stay in part 2 or phase 2 all the time. Whatever works for you. But guys, I hope this was beneficial for you. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family members who need help. And also too, like I said, if you're looking for more help and more information, contact my office. You may want me to help you out personally one-on-one as more of a health coach. Well, anyway, guys, I love and appreciate you. Thanks for watching. This is Dr. Nick. Don't you go away. Make sure you check out my other videos. If you like these, you'll love that one over there too. Anyway, guys, have a great and blessed day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.